Young's ultimate pie guy, RJ Asher at the Miele Kitchen.
He shows us that baking is indeed as easy as apple pie. Check out the recipe on our Facebook page and try it at home.
Well, today we're going to go through a lot of different useful tips throughout the process, but the best thing I can tell you is really starting with a cold kitchen and a cold ingredients. Well, first we're going to actually make your sweet butter dough. That's the easiest thing that we do. And you start, of course, with 3 cups of flour. We have all the things measured out. Then you add in your other dry ingredients, which is a little bit of kosher salt. I always like to use kosher salt in the kitchen. And of course the sugars. We are making a sweet dough. And I do say sweet dough for this one because, again, as we know, savory pies don't use a sweet dough. Use your savory doughs. Then just mix it up a little bit so you don't hit the chunks. And the next step is actually using, which we use, French butter, nice and cold, right out of the refrigerator. And we chop into little cubes. Put that in. And I always coat the flour over the butter before I stop chopping up. It helps to make it a little easier. You've done a great job. You should not be afraid of working
I should have been a baker.
in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And the next step here, the next step here is really just adding the water. And again, cold water. So one way of doing it, if you have a warm kitchen, put ice cubes in the water.
And why is everything cold?
It just keeps it from the gluten's overworking.
The gluten in the flour.
Yeah, the gluten in the flour. When you have the gluten in the flour overworking, the crust shrinks. It's harder when you're rolling it. It shrinks up. It just isn't as fun to use. So I always put a little bit in at a time. You don't want to put too much, just in case you put too much in. Then you have a little bit of dough soup.
Process.
It's not like making bread. When you're making, you have to knead it and you have to really get into it. This is, like I said, go slow, take it easy. As I teach my bakers in the bakery, don't go crazy. Relax. If you get too uptight and you overwork it, that's when the glutens get going. And the worst thing you can do is have a pie that's going to shrink, and especially if you blind bake a pie dough. You blind bake, you put it in, you've overworked the glutens, you pull it out, and the crust is this big. Yeah! It's like, what happened to my pie? Yeah. But now we have it. We actually have your lovely little dough.
That was so easy.
Now we're ready to roll. So here we go. We'll move forward off that topic here. We'll actually have a silicone mat. And again, the reason why I use silicone, if we use the marble, yes, it's cold and it's great for the dough, keeps it cold, but it's very hard to pull it off. So if you don't put enough flour underneath it and it does happen to stick, it's going to rip. So the nice thing about silicone, we'll show you later how to pull it up. It's actually very easy to use. So we're actually rolling the dough here. We're going to do it about 1/8 of an inch thick.
So you're turning the dough as we go to get a nice circular shape.
Yeah, it's actually
or
easier.
thereabouts.
It's easier to turn the dough than it is to keep moving around the mat.
Yeah, of course. Of course, you don't want to be standing on the counter, do you?
No, that would
Well,
be,
not today. Not today.
Yeah, it depends how many drinks you've had. We just lift it up a little bit just to see where we are.
And you're rolling it slightly longer than, or slightly bigger than the
you'll
dish
cut some
itself.
off. So now we're ready, and this is like I was saying, the nice thing about silicone, you can peel it right up. So you actually pull it over. You have your dough. We have your glass pie dish.
And glass is better than aluminium or any other.
Yeah, I
baking
prefer
dish?
it. I do prefer it. It cooks evenly. It is reusable, so you're actually saving the environment a little bit there.
Very important.
Very important. So there you have your first pie, and you can see the bottom. Now that Jason's been resting for 30 minutes, the dough's been resting for 30 minutes, we're going to now peel and chop the apples. A good way of doing it, you put about 4 together. I like to cut corners a little bit here. And then just slice. You need about 1/4 of an inch. Pretty easy. So again, they're a little thick.
Yeah.
All right, guys, now that we have all the apples chopped, we're going to add the spices in.
What are you going to season it with?
Well, the first thing we do is a little sugar. And we don't use that much sugar. And we have a lot of apples in here, but we don't put that much sugar in. Because the apples themselves do have a natural sugar that's in it. And we actually put our cinnamon. A little bit of nutmeg.
Smells good.
Already smells good. And then we're going to put the flour in.
No clove?
It's kind of interesting. Some people like cloves, some people don't. I actually do like it. The pies that we actually bake for the factory have a lot more other fun little seasons. But again, it's a personal taste. So this is really your standard all-American apple pie. Very simple and enjoyable. Anybody should be able to enjoy it. Mix it up a little bit here. So let's just fill this up real quick. As you can tell, we're going to have a lot of apples in this pie. I'm a believer in doing things big, the all-American way.
Everything's bigger in America.
Wow, it is a lot of apples.
Wow.
A lot of apples. We have our butter. Put a little bit of butter on top. I've dropped some apples on the ground. Just put it right on top. They give some good flavor. Now let's put the top crust on. And again, like I said, silicone mat, very simple. Peel it off. You have a half. Put it right in. There we go.
And the apples will break down and shrink quite a lot while it's cooking.
Yeah. So that's actually interesting. When you have a pie, you have it in so big, they shrink. You get a gap. So that's why cutting apple pies, they always look messy when you first cut it. It's okay. It's okay. But that's what happens. They do shrink down. Now let's crimp it really good. Get it going here.
So you're folding the dough underneath.
Yeah, we fold it
itself.
under. So I actually roll it, and then I tuck it in. When you roll and tuck in, and that's just going to prevent the juices from pouring out.
And as it bakes, the dough sticks together? You don't need to egg wash it or anything like that?
No, not for this. We will do a cream and milk wash on top, just to get, let the sugar that it'll stick. It really won't stick on too well. So let's do a quick crimp. Yep, we got a little brown sugar.
Okay.
So what we're going to do here is put it on. And again, just raw brown sugar. I like it the best when you put it on. It gives
And
a
that
nice
doesn't
color.
melt, it just goes crunchy when you
Yeah,
bake
it
it?
goes crunchy. Now, the more you put on, the more crunch you may have on top. You can put less on if you want. You don't have to. It's your pie. You have to actually poke the top crust. If you don't, it will blow up like a balloon. And what you don't want to do is blow up so much where it pops. So just put a few little slices in. You don't need too many. We usually do 4 big ones, and then we do 4 little ones. Now they're all set. We have the pie ready to go. Let's put it in the oven and get ready to bake.
Yeah, let's bake pie.